Our next presentation is Missed Data and Flagging Errors, Implications for Planning, presented by Teresa Najita of the California Air Resources Board.
My name is Teresa Najita, and I am an air pollution specialist with the California Air Resources Board. I was asked to discuss some implications of missed data and misapplied flags. Please keep in mind that the scenarios I am presenting are made up, although based on real incidents, and the names have been changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. So congratulations, you have a new job with the Perfect Air District. Specifically, you will be handling all of the monitoring requirements at the Bazaar monitoring site in the Perfect Air District. One of the pollutants you are collecting samples for is Unobtanium. Samples are collected every 6 days using a Teflon filter. Procedures are almost identical to those used for particulate matter. A bit of background. Way back in 1999, EPA set a level or standard for unobtainium, aka UNO, that was not to be exceeded and began to collect data. In 2003, EPA realized that the UNO data from Bazaar was over the standard, which is 50 micrograms per meter cubed if you did not catch that earlier, and declared that the Perfect District is a non-attainment area. Perfect was not happy. They wanted to be perfect. But EPA wouldn't budge, so Perfect developed a plan. This plan, called the State Implementation Plan, or SIP, tells EPA and everyone else how Perfect is going to once again be, well, perfect. So after a rocky start, UNO values finally began to decrease, going below the standard in 2018. The staff at the Perfect Air District were very excited. They started on another plan to get EPA to make them an attainment area, which meant that they attained the standard. Then 2019 happened, or didn't happen. Data was missing. 2020 looked okay though. It was higher than 2018, but not as high as before. So what happened in 2019? Would this put a wrench in the perfect plan? Definitely problems in 2019. 9 samples were invalidated for various reasons. 3 were left on a desk at the monitoring site, got covered in paperwork, and didn't get found and used until after a month had passed. 2 others were left on the sampler for over a day and a half when the technician, the one whose job you now have, forgot about them. 1 had a mysterious orange smudge that later turned out to be Cheetos dust. And 3 were just never collected on their sampling day, and the makeup days were not counted. So yes, 9 samples lost can mean that a year doesn't have an official annual average. Unfortunately, all these problems happened in the same quarter, the first quarter, January to March, of 2019. That meant that only 21 of the 30 possible filters, remember these are only collected every 6th day, were considered valid, less than 75% of what should have been collected. This meant that the quarter was invalid, which meant that the year was invalid. So how could this have been prevented? SOPs are your friend. They will tell you pretty much everything you need to know. For some reason, the Perfect District didn't have the perfect system to log filters in and out, even though the SOP told them exactly what to do. If they had paid attention, everyone would have been aware that 3 filters were missing and new ones ordered if they couldn't have been found. If a sample day is missed, then a makeup day could have been used, but not just any day. Like particulate matter, UNO makeup day samples must be taken before the next sampling day or exactly 7 days later. Anything else is considered extra and can be used, but doesn't count when deciding if there are enough samples in the quarter. And Cheetos can be banned from the immediate monitoring areas. Then came 2020. You remember it looked good on the graph, except for the fires in late summer when we all had problems breathing. but less data was invalidated. 2 samples were not collected and 5 samples were flagged. The 2 not collected happened when no one could cross the fire lines, and 3 were flagged as impacted by the wildfires, informational flags. 2 were flagged with a null code by a substitute technician who smelled smoke and decided they were contaminated. This is what the Perfect staff saw when they looked at the data. But the missing days combined with null data points gave a misleading idea of what was going on with air quality. With complete data, this is what the district would have seen. The 2 days that were missing, those were when smoke from the wildfire severely impacted the monitor. You can see those here in red. And the null codes, these are shown in yellow. One in late September was probably a wildfire, but the other one in December, the district may have had a wood smoke issue that they don't know about. Remember that the substitute technician used null codes because they thought the samples were contaminated with smoke? An information flag would have kept the data in the data stream. So the district will stay non-attainment. They needed 3 years of complete and valid data under the standard to request a change from non-attainment to attainment. If the data in 2019 were complete, Perfect could make that request. The better the data, the more valid data we have, the more we understand what is going on. EPA can't understand the issues without the data, and they're not going to guess. But keep in mind that as an attainment area, Perfect would still have to control sources of UNO. We would want to stay attainment after all. Continuing as a non-attainment area may also mean a new higher classification, from a marginal to a moderate area, for example, which would have stricter requirements. This would likely require an increase in emission controls, and this can impact everyone living in Perfect, including newly hired monitoring staff. So what are some of the things that can happen? Bad news first. Local manufacturers are now required to pay a new fee and control emissions of UNO from their facilities. They, of course, pass along these costs to the consumers of their products. Since cars and trucks emit UNO, an extra fee is added at the time of registration to help fund the control of emissions. That jet ski you love so much, the one you use on Lake Bazaar every summer, it no longer meets the new UNO emissions operating standards for watercraft, so you will have to buy a new one. And since wood burning also contributes to increased UNO, any new stoves sold or newly installed must now meet a new UNO emission standard. So that stove your Aunt Jo just sold you, it isn't certified and she won't take it back. On the plus side, yes, there is a plus side. Thanks to the money from the fees on car registrations and local industry, the Perfect District can fund a program to replace old UNO-emitting lawnmowers with new electric ones for free. And that UNO cloud that hung around on Saturday mornings when everyone was doing yard work, it's gone. So is your headache. But your chances of winning the Best Lawn Award just went up. And they are offering rebates to help you get that new jet ski that you have been drooling over. They don't want the economy around Lake Bazaar to suffer. CARB gave the district money to replace all the smelly old buses in town with zero-emission electric buses. So now you and your kids aren't breathing in fumes and coming home with UNO-induced headaches. And the streets are a lot quieter. And to encourage the use of their new transit fleet, Perfect has a new free bus pass program for everyone living and working in the district. So now your spouse can get home earlier and stress-free thanks to a clean, comfortable bus that can use the commuter lane. And your insurance rates for your cars drop because your cars aren't used as often. So we all want clean air. For one, air quality is our job, but we are in this not because they pay us, although we all do have to eat, but because we believe that clean air should be a priority. And we want the people around us, our family, friends, and neighbors, to be able to live happy and healthy lives. And on a personal level, we all like breathing clean air. We've had just about enough of smoke-filled air so that we don't take clean air for granted anymore. So what do I want you to remember about this, besides the fact that nothing is perfect? The data that you collect and how you collect it matters. It doesn't just go in a computer somewhere to be ignored. Following the protocols and procedures laid out keeps data loss to a minimum. We can't predict if you will be prevented from getting to a monitoring site because of things like wildfires or floods or landslides, but you can do things that will keep the loss of data from having consequences beyond an empty place in the data set. Good data, complete, valid data, gives us a better idea of how clean or polluted the air was and is, and we can use it to compare with the other sites in Perfect and in other districts to see where problems are. This can help the staff at Perfect so they aren't trying to control sources that aren't contributing to the UNO problem. So I am available for questions now, and if you think of any later, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email.
Great, thank you, Teresa. Does anyone have any questions? If so, please feel free to type them into the Q&A chat.
Or send them to me later.
Or send them to her later. Thanks, Tian. Thanks, Nicole.
Yes, thank you very much. And I guess there are no questions.
I guess not. Well, I think, yeah, if there are no questions, we can go ahead and end this session, and then we will see you all in the next one.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Teresa.